نبدأ الجلسة الثالثة بالمؤتمر، وهي بعنوان الطموح في التجمعات الصحية. سيقدمها الدكتور خالد القميزي في الجلسة، والدكتور أنطوني جابس، والسيدة إيميلينا رودنبرغ. رئيس الجلسة الأستاذ علي الطراد، وهو ماجستير في إدارة الخدمات الصحية والمستشفيات، وعمل مديراً لمستشفى رأس تنورة العام، ومديراً لمستشفى الخفجي العام، ومديراً لمستشفى بقيق العام، ويعمل الآن مديراً لقطاع الرعاية الصحية بمحافظة الخبر، وعضواً بمجلس إدارة الجمعية السعودية للإدارة الصحية، ورئيس لجنة الفروع والمكاتب فيها، ومديراً مؤسساً لمكتب الجمعية بالمنطقة الشرقية. الأستاذ علي، الميكروفون لك.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. نرحب بكم في ثالث جلساتنا لهذا المؤتمر تحت عنوان الطموح في التجمعات الصحية، ونسعد بمشاركة متحدثنا الأول لهذه الجلسة الدكتور خالد القميزي، والذي سوف يتحدث عن نموذج الرعاية. الدكتور خالد هو القائد الوطني لنموذج الرعاية الصحية، ويشغل حالياً نائب الرئيس التنفيذي لمشروع الشركة القابضة لمناطق الشمالية والجنوبية. عمل عميداً لكلية الطب بجامعة الإمام محمد بن سعود الإسلامية خلال الفترة من 2012 إلى 2016، وشارك في عضوية العديد من اللجان في المجالس المختلفة في قطاعي التعليم والصحة، كما عمل مستشاراً لعدد من الجهات الحكومية والخيرية والخاصة. نرحب بك دكتور خالد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سعد الله مساكم بالخير والمسرات، وسعيد حقيقة باللقاء بكم في هذه المناسبة الغالية وهذا المؤتمر المميز. إن شاء الله لن أطيل، سوف أخذكم في رحلة كذا مختصرة عن نموذج الرعاية. قبل ما نبدأ ودي أسألكم، من اللي من خارج الرياض يرفع يده بس؟ ممتاز. كيف وصلتوا للفندق؟ يعني يمكن بشتى الطرق، اللي ركب مع تاكسي، اللي يعرف المنطقة وهذا، ولا اللي شغل جوجل ماب ولا ويز أي برنامج وجاء هنا. لو كنا قبل 30 سنة يمكن أحسن حظاً اللي مع خريطة يفتحها ويشوف ويحدد المسارات. اللي يحصل الآن في القطاع الصحي بالنسبة للمريض تقريباً مثل الخريطة، أو يمكن حتى ما قبل الخريطة، أنه طريقة وصول المريض للخدمات الصحية ليست بالسلاسة والسهولة اللي يستحقها المريض. وفي حال انتقاله أيضاً تواصل هالخدمة هذه ما هو متحقق بالشكل المطلوب. نموذج الرعاية أتى ليربط هذه النقاط، يسهل وصول المريض لكافة الخدمات الصحية، أو يسهل نقل الخدمات الصحية إلى المريض. أنا مشكلتي إني طويل، فأما إني أنحني ولا طيب. بنبدأ بالديفينيشن. أنا يعني السلايدات بتكون بالإنجليزي والكلام بالعربي. طيب كذا يمشي كذا، ممكن أنزل بس في إحنا في السنوات الماضية المملكة حققت إنجازات كبيرة جدا يجب أن نفخر بها، لا على مستوى الكليات، لا على مستوى المنشآت الصحية، ولا حتى على مستوى الثروة الحقيقية اللي هي الموارد البشرية، الأطباء، الفنيين في كافة التخصصات. هذه الإنجازات أدت إلى مخرجات أيضا مميزة. ارتفع معدل العمر، تحسنت معدلات الوفيات لدى الأمهات ولدى الرضع، ولكن أيضا ولد مشاكل جديدة. أبرز هذه المشاكل أنه تغير نمط حياة الناس، زادت أعمارهم، زادت الأمراض المزمنة، وأصبح النظام أيضا يعاني أنه مع هذه الزيادة أصبح في عندي زيادة في الوفيات المبكرة. لما نتكلم عن الوفيات المبكرة نتكلم عن وفيات دون سن 70 نتيجة الإصابة بأحد الأمراض المزمنة. الرؤية أتت لعدة معايير، أولها رفع حقيقة كفاءة النظام الصحي ومستوى الخدمة المقدمة لدى الناس. الثاني أنه الوزارة كوزارة أو المنظم كمنظم يجب أن يركز على دوره الأساسي وهو التنظيم والتشريع ورسم السياسات، وتقديم الخدمة يسند إلى جهات أخرى. وأيضا لابد من التكامل، ولما نتكلم عن التكامل، تكامل ما بين القطاعات الصحية والمنشآت الصحية وما بين القطاع الصحي والقطاعات الأخرى التي تؤثر، أهمها الحقيقة القطاع الاجتماعي أو الرعاية الاجتماعية، بالإضافة إلى القطاعات الأخرى، التعليم، الشؤون البلدية والقروية وغيرها. نموذج الرعاية كنموذج، أن الناس دائما يقولون هذا المشروع صمموه خبراء، جبنا شركات، جبنا PwC، جبنا ماكنزي، جبنا BCG وصمموه، ما فيه أي علاقة بالواقع. هذا مو صحيح. عند بداية التصميم تم دعوة ومشاركة أكثر من 60,000 مواطن عبر استفتاءات وعبر مقابلات شخصية، أكثر من 3,500 ممارس صحي بكافة مستوياتهم، ليسوا الأطباء فقط وليسوا الإدارات، يمكن سائقي إسعاف، رجال أمن سكيورتي، مدراء منشآت صغيرة سواء مراكز رعاية أولية، مستشفيات وغيرها، طيف كبير جدا إلى الوزير. أجابوا على سؤال: إيش نبغى من النظام الصحي الجديد؟ بعد ذلك جمعنا هذه المعلومات، درسنا مجموعة كبيرة جدا من الخيارات العالمية والممارسات العالمية، بعضها كان متقدم وبعضها في طور التصميم، وبعضها أجزاء منها متقدمة وأجزاء منها لا زالت يعني متأخرة، بالإضافة لتوجهات العالمية في القطاعات الصحية سواء من المنظمات الدولية أو من الدول. وكان فيه عدة ملامح أساسية، أولها أنه تقديم الرعاية الصحية المبنية على القيمة، بحيث أنه كيف أدفع ريال اليوم وحقق أعلى استفادة من أو أعلى مردود من هذا الريال اللي أقدمه. الثاني كيف أني أركز على الصحة السكانية ككل من خلال تعزيز الرعاية المقدمة خلال الممارسة اليومية، وأيضا الانتباه للمؤشرات السكانية، بالإضافة إلى زيادة المسؤولية والمساءلة لمقدم الخدمة. حالياً مسؤولية مقدم الخدمة تقع في حال وصول المريض أو المستفيد إلى المنشآت الصحية، لكن لو حصل تأخر أو مضاعفات نتيجة عدم قدرة المريض للوصول للخدمة، في غالب الأحوال المستشفيات ليس عليها ملامة، القطاعات المقدمة للصحة ليس عليها ملامة، لكن التوجه العالمي الآن أن تكون هناك مسؤولية على المقدم فيما يتعلق بالتجمعات السكانية بغض النظر عن وصولهم للخدمة من عدمه. وهذا يحتم أننا يجب أن نبادر أحيانا، بل في كثير من الأحيان، لتقديم الرعاية الصحية للمستفيدين. سلايدز. بشكل مختصر هذه مكونات القطاع الصحي. عندنا مريض أو مستفيد، وعندنا منشآت صحية، وعندنا مراكز متخصصة، لكن مسار المريض من خلالها غير واضح بالدرجة الكافية اللي تسهل انتقال المريض. اللي نبغاه أن نربط المسار بشكل متناسق، لن يكون باتجاه واحد، سيكون باتجاهين. المريض ينتقل إلى الرعاية التخصصية، وبالعكس يرجع إلى المنزل ويحصل على تناغم في الخدمة بالإضافة إلى تناقل مميز للبيانات اللازمة. أبغاكم تحفظون 6 أس 3. في واحد من الزملاء اسمه مجول الدهمشي في عرعر قال لي يا دكتور في وصفة لنموذج الرعاية أنها 6 أس 3. الستة الأولى هي عبارة عن الأنظمة اللي الناس يطلبونها. يقول إن نتمنى أن النظام الصحي مو بينتظر إلى أن نمرض، لا، النظام الصحي المفروض يجينا ويحافظ على صحتنا. ولذلك ظهر عندنا المسار الأخضر هذا اسمه كيبول. في حال احتياجنا لإجراء في أي مستشفى المفروض أن ما نتأخر ونجلس تصير فيه مضاعفات أو نضطر إلى زيارة الطوارئ أكثر من مرة ونحن في قائمة الانتظار لإجراء. فلذلك الرعاية المجدولة أو المخطط لها يجب أن تضمن هذا الانتقال السلس للمريض عبر الخدمات وحصوله في الوقت المناسب مع تقليل التكاليف. احنا ما شاء الله مجتمع فتي، نسبة النمو تقريبا 2.5. رعاية الأم الحامل، رعاية الجنين، رعاية الطفل بعد ولادته عنصر أساسي من أي نظام عالي الخصوبة، لأنهم لا زالوا يشكلون نسبة كبيرة جدا من السكان. فلذلك حصول الأم والطفل على رعاية آمنة ومتكاملة وسهلة عنصر أساسي في النظام الصحي. في حال الإصابة بحالة طارئة، ليس المهم نقل المريض بسرعة إلى المستشفى، لأنه أحيانا يكون هذه الخطوة نحن نقول ليتنا من حجنا سالمين. هذه الخطوة قد تؤدي إلى مضاعفات أكثر من تهيئتها لفرص علاج أكثر. ولذلك المريض قد يذهب إلى المستشفى الآخر وعنده جلطة في الدماغ، وبعد 3 أيام 4 أيام ممكن يطلع وهو يمشي. ولو راح المستشفى الآخر قد يخرج بعد 3 أشهر إما على سرير أو على كرسي متحرك. إذا نقل المريض للرعاية المخصصة في الوقت المناسب جزء أساسي من النظام الصحي. الأمراض المزمنة للأسف الشديد احنا نتكلم ترى عن العدد المقدر ب4 ملايين حالة. قد أنقل بعض الخدمات المرتبطة بالمستشفيات التخصصية إلى الرعاية الأولية، إلى المجتمع، بل إلى منزل المريض. الرعاية التلطيفية حالياً في المدن الطبية. خلال فترة تطبيق النموذج نقلنا الخدمة إلى المنزل. قس عليها مجموعة من الخدمات اللي بالإمكان نقلها إلى أقرب نقطة إلى المريض. الستة الثانية هذه 6 مستويات. إذن عندي 6 أنظمة تقدم عبر 6 مستويات. تحت كل نظام مجموعة مبادرات. المبادرات لوحدها لا تكون كلينيكال باثوي أو مسار صحي أو مسار إكلينيكي، لكنها مثل المحطات اللي ينبغي علينا أن نجعلها في التصميم حتى نحقق استفادة أكبر. اللون الرمادي هي هذه عبارة عن مبادرات مشتركة، أي أنها لا تقع تحت نظام معين وإنما تقدم على مستوى وطني أو تخدم أكثر من مسار، منها تعزيز الرعاية الأولية، تعزيز الرعاية المنزلية، جمع البيانات الممنهج اليوم الدكتور عبد العزيز تكلم عن التميز المؤسسي. بدون بيانات وأنا كيف أتكلم عن تميز مؤسسي؟ بدون تحليل حقيقي أيضا لهذه البيانات ما أستطيع أني أخرج بأي تصور. بالإضافة طبعا للأدلة الإرشادية، التكامل في الملف الطبي، تعزيز الأبحاث الصحية المتعلقة بتطوير النظام أو بتطوير الرعاية الصحية المقدمة. تقريبا هذه وصف ممتاز. هذا الصورة هذه تعكس ولادة النموذج. النموذج بدأ في التصميم، اكتمل في أبريل 2017، تم إطلاقه من قبل معالي الوزير، ثم بعد ذلك مشى في مراحل أخرى. يبدو الشاشة الوقت مضبوط؟ طيب نرجع للستة الثانية. ستتين احنا قلنا 6 أنظمة عبر 6 مستويات يدعمها 6 برامج. البرنامج الأول ولن أطيل فيها اللي هو التحول المؤسسي. لابد من وجود كيانات تقدم الخدمة ومسؤولة عن تقديم الخدمة، لكن هذه الكيانات أمكنها أيضا ماليا، ولذلك في نظام مالي جديد لتمويل الرعاية الصحية قائم على المخرجات، قائم على الصحة السكانية، قائم على تحسين جودة الخدمات المقدمة، وليس على المنشآت القائمة، وليس على النشاطات اللي أقدمها. أيضا لابد من وجود حوكمة لهذه المنظومة، واليوم كان أحد المسارات في الصباح كان عن الحوكمة في القطاع الصحي. القطاع الخاص والقطاع الخيري لهم دور كبير جدا في ردم الفجوات. لا يمكن أننا نأخذ الجمل بما حمل. في أشياء معينة، أنا ممكن عندي مزرعة وأزرع شعير وقمح وكذا، بس مو بالمفروض أني أنا اللي خبزه، أجيب خباز كويس وطلع لي منتج كويس. في القطاع الصحي في ثغرات، القطاع الخاص أفضل من القطاع الحكومي، لا من ناحية الكفاءة التشغيلية ولا من ناحية تحسين المخرجات. الإي هيلث احنا ترى في 2019 ما عاد نقول احنا في القرن ال21، دخل القرن ال21 قبل 20 سنة. 2019 كل واحد منا يحمل في جيبه ثروة كبيرة جدا ويؤدي كثير من إنجازاته. القطاع الصحي حقيقة الوضع فيه مخجل، يحتاج جهد وإلى تعزيز، ولذلك واحد من المسارات الأساسية لرفع كفاءة النظام هو وجود نظام صحي إلكتروني فاعل. الورك فورس، الإنجازات اللي إن نشوفها اليوم بأم عيوننا في المستشفيات الحكومية، في المستشفيات الخاصة، في القطاع الصحي، في النظام الصحي في المملكة، صنعها أفراد. المستقبل يحمل تحديات جديدة، نحتاج تأهيل العديد من الكوادر لتلبية هذه الاحتياجات. فهذه الستة الثالثة ستة أنظمة عبر 6 مستويات مدعومة ب6 برامج. إيش اللي نسعى له؟ إحنا نسعى إلى تغيير. التغيير يبدأ من التركيز على المستشفى والانتقال إلى خارج نطاق المستشفى وصولاً إلى المنزل، بحيث أن تكون الرعاية متكاملة عبر كافة هذه المستويات. أيضاً من التركيز على النشاطات. إحنا والله أجرينا كذا عملية، إحنا شفنا 500 مريض، 600 زائر للمركز الرعاية الأولية، إلى التركيز على المخرجات، نواتج هذه الخدمة ماذا تعني. أيضاً من التركيز على العلاج فقط إلى تعزيز الوقاية، تعزيز الصحة، بالإضافة إلى تحسين جودة الرعاية والخدمات العلاجية المقدمة. من التركيز على المنشآت كمستشفى إكس، مدينة إكس الطبية، إلى النظام المنظومة ككل بما فيها المراكز الصحية والمستشفيات العامة وغيرها. من حواجز الجدران اللي تغلف المستشفيات إلى الفضاء الكبير اللي أستطيع من خلاله تقديم رعاية صحية متكاملة تلبي احتياجات الأفراد. من التجزئة في تقديم الخدمة، كل واحد يعتبر نفسه مملكة مستقلة إلى تكامل يضمن مشاركة الموارد، تحقيق منفعة أكبر واستدامتها أيضا. من كون أن المرضى الآن أو المستفيدين يعني باسف ريسيبيانت إلى أن يكونوا مشاركين نشطين في المنظومة الصحية، ليس فقط على مستوى الرعاية الصحية المخصصة بل على المنظومة ككل. كيف كانت مراحل المشروع؟ في البداية بدينا في التصميم. التصميم بدأ تقريبا في أكتوبر 2016، أبريل 2017 اكتمل التصميم، بس هذا التصميم يحتاج تهيئة للتطبيق. بدأ الطور الثاني، أخذ تقريبا 4 شهور إلى 5 شهور، وكان الهدف تهيئة هذا النموذج للتطبيق. ثم بعد ذلك بعد دراسة وتحليل عناصر التهيئة تم البدء بالتطبيق الأولي، وبعد ذلك تم الطرح الوطني. احنا تقريبا في مرحلة الطرح الوطني على مستوى النموذج بدأنا في 5 مناطق، بعد ذلك انتقلنا إلى 5 مناطق أخرى، وبعد ذلك تم الانتشار في كافة مناطق المملكة. عندما نقول أن بدأنا يعني ما تروح للمركز يمكن ما تشوف نموذج الرعاية. تم تهيئة الفرق، بناء الكفاءات اللازمة وتدريبها والبدء في التطبيق. بنهاية نوفمبر يكون نموذج الرعاية دخل في كل مناطق المملكة، كل الشؤون الصحية. وطبعا التوسع يحتاج مرحلة، يمكن حوالي من 7 إلى 10 سنوات حسب الممكنات للتطبيق. بالإضافة لهذا كان فيه تزامن مع تصميم عدة استراتيجيات للرعايات التخصصية بشكل متكامل. عندما نحط استراتيجية للرعاية التخصصية نضع في عين الاعتبار الوقاية، سهولة الوصول، جودة الخدمة، أيضا ما وراءها سواء من التأهيل أو من استدامتها. الدور الآن في المرحلة القادمة نسعى إلى بناء الكفاءات وخلق إحساس بأن هذا المشروع ما هو بمشروع مكتب تحقيق الرؤية، ما هو مشروع الوزارة كمركزي، وإنما هو مشروع مقدم الخدمة. الزملاء العاملين في المراكز، في المستشفيات، في المدن الطبية، العاملين في كافة المديريات، أيضا نسعى من خلالها إلى ضمان مبالغ مالية وميزانيات تساعد في عملية التحول. احنا ما نقول ان هذا التحول سيكون مجانا، لا، يتطلب دعم لأنه استثمار. فنسعى من خلاله إلى بناء هذه المنظومة ودعم الأخوان سواء بالخبرات أو بناء القدرات أو بالقيادة على مستوى المناطق أو مستوى المسارات. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
نشكر الدكتور خالد على هذه المحاضرة القيمة. متحدثنا الثاني لهذه الجلسة هو الدكتور أنطوني كابس، وسوف يتحدث بإذن الله تعالى عن التحول مقابل متحدثنا الثاني لهذه الجلسة هي السيدة إيميلينا رودنبيرغ، وسوف تتحدث بإذن الله عن تطبيق منظمات الرعاية المسؤولة. Emilina is the head of healthcare for the KPMG Saudi Cluster Riyadh. Her areas of expertise include international health system with focus, care system redesign, provider transformation and change management. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today. So indeed, my name is Emilina Rudenberg, partner and head of healthcare here with KPMG, based out of Riyadh. I'm an economist and a lawyer by background, but I've been focusing on healthcare and large system transformation over the past 10 years in the Netherlands, in Canada, and in New York, where I was one of the lead directors of an $8 billion healthcare transformation program for the full state. I have to apologize to the organization up front because they asked me to present to you a scientific presentation, and that's not what I'm going to do. I prepared for you a very practical presentation because that's what I believe that implementation is about. So what are we going to do? 10 minutes and 10 lessons. I've first only had 10 minutes, but it's now extended to 20 minutes, but I still hope to keep it short and sweet for you. I could easily talk on each of these points for more than an hour, but I know you don't want that either. So just view this as an executive summary of 10 years of work. And if you only take away one point, I would be honored already. So I will talk from my experience, but as a disclaimer up front, I want to say that I'll be the last one to say that what's happening here in Saudi Arabia is similar to what's happening anywhere else in the world. There's lessons to be learned from other jurisdictions, on what to do and maybe specifically on what not to do. And based on what I've seen, so I've moved with my family to Riyadh last summer. And based on what I've seen so far, I'm so inspired that I was contemplating between the 10 lessons learned and what the world can learn from Saudi Arabia, because there's so many good things that are happening, and even today I've heard so many inspiring things that I'm really impressed. I hope to bring some really practical things that I've seen on the ground and that I've actually worked with on myself. So here we go, 10. Transition from sick care to healthcare means providers deal with consumers, not with patients. And I heard it today before, and I was really happy hearing this. So what? What does this mean? This means that you're responsible for the people in your geographical area, and you have to make sure they actually do not become sick, right? You catch them early on. Which means you really have to invest in the patient experience. So know what they're thinking, know where they are, be active on social media, health technology. Make sure that you're open to working together with industries who've had consumer experience at core business for a long period. Startups as well as well-established companies like an STC, like an Amazon. So you know, in the US, Amazon bought PillPack. If you deliver packages, you might as well deliver the medicines. In Canada, where they're now also moving to a similar model, when it was announced, CVS pharmacies jumped right on it. They said, in our pharmacies, we can do the screening. You want to do basic screening for people, you want to do it often and often. People don't like to go to doctors. They go to a pharmacy, they need shampoo. We'll catch them here, right? So be open to that. And final, I mean, as a consumer, I want to know what I'm choosing, or actually better, who I'm choosing. So that means when you're developing your accountable care organization, aim to be transparent on both quality and cost. Number 9, capacity demand planning is the oasis in the desert of guesswork. Every accountable care organization needs to have a business case. It's as simple as that. So on one hand, you will have to understand your demand in a rapidly changing environment. And on the other hand, you have to optimize your capacity to make sure you're a viable organization in a more and more competitive environment. And in between is maybe the excess capacity that you will find in, for example, hospital beds. You could repurpose long-term care beds. What I've seen now, very bad need of that. So look at what you have and the things that you need. You don't need to get rid of them, but there's a very good practice in what I've seen is in repurposing to long-term care beds. 8, there are only so many KPIs to success. KPIs is also known for killing people in charge. There's just too many of them. I've developed a lot of national quality indicator sets, and what they need to adhere to is 3 points, and there's no compromise on it. Validity, so who wants to know and why? They need to be reliable. Is the data there? Is the data complete? And they need to be comparable. If you don't have that in a KPI, you should scrap the KPI. I'm not saying that you shouldn't aim for it if it's a very important one, but then probably your KPI is how to get that in place. So with that, you probably can remove 50% of the KPIs that are already developed so far. And you always start, and you know this, in a maturing system, you start with your structure indicators, and then you go to process and to outcome indicators. And this is another common thing that I've seen in New York is where performance measurement is being mixed up with accreditation. So accreditation is really to get the structure in place to move authority, for example, over budgets to clusters. And the performance measurement is really about the outcomes, and those two shouldn't be mixed up. 7, communication and change management are hard skills when it comes to transformation. Maybe as a show of hands, who has a close relative that works in healthcare? There might be a lot of doctors in the room as well, right? 70% of the people here in Saudi Arabia have a close relative that works in healthcare. We're all consumers of the system. That means that this transformation touches us all. And that makes it so tricky. We can't do it in isolation. So there needs to be a very good communication machine around it. As a transformator, you need to have a very clear story, a goal, a narrative, a North Star that you're communicating over and over and over again. So to give you an example, in New York, the goal was in 5 years' time to reduce avoidable hospital use by 25%. Very clear goal. 5 years further, 2019, it's now year 5, we have reached 21%. It's not 25%, but it's pretty impressive to reduce your avoidable hospital use by 25%, by 21% in 5 years. All to say is, make sure that you have your narrative ready. And this is something else in KPIs, right? It's your North Star, it's your goal that you're communicating. That's on your website, that's on your billboards, and that makes the workforce understand, your doctors, your nurses, that makes your patients/consumers understand why you're doing this. Accountable care organizations, I mean, I don't care what you call them, but I mean, why are we doing this? Why are we going through this transformation? And you need to be able to explain it in very, very simple words. Number 6, the best implementation strategies fail when providers are not involved. We learned this the hard way, to be honest. People do not change their behaviors if there's not, number 1, a clear financial incentive, or 2, you actually bring them together to do something different. And it's not that it's about bad will, it's about people are just too busy in their day jobs, doctors and nurses, that they can't think about transformation. They're dealing with their patients. And since we're first integrating care and then we're redesigning the underlying payment models, that means you have to bring those people together. So what we did in New York, we said, and you have to make it a goal, right? So we focused on high utilizers, and we said we're going to bring the people together that on a day-to-day basis need to do something different for these patients. So yes, you bring together the ED doctor with a social worker in a room for a full day, with the mental health care provider, with housing, social care, full day. They've never been together in that capacity. And they walk away with very, very concrete action plans, come back together again in 30 days, because you know what they will find. No matter how good they want to do, there's lots of rules and regulations that stand in their way. And the only way to find out is to do it, and to do it together collectively. So it's not about the providers, it's with the providers. Very crucial. Primary care is everything that prevents people from going to the doctor. I know, and I've heard from some of the clusters, the goal is to really strengthen the primary care system, and I couldn't agree more with that, but I do want to see it broader. So that's why I'm comparing social care with apples. Also, if you say, well, there's a lack of primary care, I don't think the case is lost. Even also with your aging population, and more young people getting educated, not naturally taking care of their family when they get older, it's more and more important that you have that more professionalized social network, the social services, mental health care, that actually can prevent people from going to the doctor. So a little bit of attention a day keeps the doctor away. I'm happy that the previous speaker really touched on mental health care as well. And location. Really mental health, primary care, social care should bundle up physically to make sure you can have the warm handoffs, to really be that fundamental primary care, the first level of service that people go to when they need something, to prevent them to go to the hospitals. To number 4. E-health equals ACO wealth. Basically, of all the 10 points that I'm discussing today, on all 10, I should say, and this should be digital. Of the $8 billion we spent in New York on transformation, and by the way, they're now applying for another $8 billion. If I could have changed anything, I would have said $4 billion IT. Because this enables everything else. And you have the ability to do it right now. And I've been actually quite impressed. I was at Lean, the e-health branch last week. I'm really impressed by all the initiatives that are going on already. But if you don't have a proactive intelligence management system, then all your efforts to provide quality care to your consumers will fail. On a day-to-day basis, real life, you have to understand your financial operations, your performance, your management, your workforce. And I think together with IT and workforce, those are the two topics that are really important to range at central level. So I'm all for authority being pushed down to the clusters because based on the population needs assessment, you can assess what's really most important for the people in your geographical area. However, if you talk about IT, if you talk about workforce, it really benefits from a centrally organized strategy, which great efforts are being made already. Number 3, how to be the healthcare employer of the future, that's the question. It's not a surprise that with the investment in technology and the changing skill set that's needed for your workforce, this is something to really look at. Also because as a country, if you're relying so much on an international workforce, you need to make sure that you stay attractive. So really practically, I've heard a lot of good stories already about how we're going to interact with our patients/consumers. I've heard great stories about how are we going to train and develop our leaders, but I'm talking about the full workforce. So very practically, you want to have a baseline on where they are now, their skill sets, but also on their expectations and their wishes. So if I was the head of a cluster, I would survey my whole workforce. Because if you look at the NHS and they just did something similar, what do people value? It's not all about the money. They want to make sure that there's a good work-life balance, which includes actually want to make sure that I have time to engage with my patients. Meaningful appraisals, development, career perspective. So all of those things, if you have a clear understanding of what your workforce really needs, you will be able to attract the best people and to keep the best people. So I would say this is really key. Number 2, value-based care is a risky business. The title is a bit misleading here. But all to say is to move from a lump sum or a fee-for-service to a full value-based care system. I mean, it clearly doesn't go overnight. And we sometimes forget that. There are so many arrangements in between. And I've seen many systems that proudly call themselves value-based, but there's actually only upside risk. So if you do well, you get a bonus, great. If you don't do well, too bad, try better next year. Right? So there's many arrangements in between. Very practical. This is inevitable, so you know you're moving towards a value-based healthcare system. So better start preparing for that yesterday. And I've seen some good examples already, but you really need to think about, okay, if this is about activity-based costing, can I already start with bundles? You can pick a very simple hip-knee replacement bundle, or you can think about a chronic bundle like diabetes. Can I already today, and you can I already today start doing this? Because you can use shadow billing, you can use your own administration, but just to start and understand what you're about to embark on. And the beauty is that all the work has been done for you. I mean, there's bundles and bundles developed around the world. Collect them, see what you like to take over from it, but you don't have to design it from scratch. They're out there. The performance outcomes indicators have already been developed. So see what's out there in the world and start today in your cluster with one or two of these bundles. I would say one episodic, one chronic, because they're very different in nature. Which leaves me with my final point. I don't know if anybody timed me, if I went really over, but I hope I stayed close to the 10 minutes. Organizational success is 1% strategy, 99% implementation. We just have to go and do it. So keep calm and implement. Thank you all.
نشكر السيدة إيميلينا على مشاركتها بهذه الجلسة، وكما يسرني أن تشاركونا الجلسة الثالثة لمتحدثنا الثالث الدكتور أنطوني كابس، والذي سوف يتحدث بإذن الله تعالى عن التحول مقابل التغيير في التجمع الصحي. Dr. Anthony Caps is a family medicine consultant. He has been senior medical advisor in the BRO for primary health care. He is currently working in the Al Qasim cluster. Welcome, Dr. Anthony. You can start.
Thank you, Ali. Transformation and change in the cluster. I'm going to come from a different point of view that you've heard a lot of today. I've spent a lot of hours, a lot of days and weeks and months in primary healthcare centers in Saudi Arabia. So some of my ideas and some of the thoughts I share today are from my experience with spending time in the primary healthcare centers. ثلاثمية وخمسة وعشرين. Practicing today. سبعمية وواحد وأربعين. ثلاثة آلاف تسعمية وسبعين. مئتين وثمانين شخص سوف يموتون خلال 30 يوما. What does this mean? Does anybody have an idea of what these numbers are? They affect a lot of people in this community. 325 في جدة, 741 في رياض, 3,973 KSA, and 280 will die within 30 days. Does that give you any more clues? These are lower limb amputations. Dr. Hassan Al-Zarani did a diabetes-related lower extremity amputation study in 2012, and these are the numbers that he projected in the next 12 months. They were on the lower end, probably, and today there are probably many more than this. What is this a reflection of? It's a reflection of poor patient care when it comes to diabetes and its complications. Lower limb amputations just happen to be one of the ways that we can look at the care of diabetic foot ulcers and where it can lead. My talk today is about transformation versus change. If you take anything home today from what I have to say, remember the word transformation. What is the word transformation in Arabic? Tawil. Remember that, because when I go into the clusters and I work I spend a lot of time with the doctors and nurses and receptionists and the CEOs at the clusters. A lot of the confusion is, well, let's change this and fix this real quick and then things will be better. But His Royal Highness said, no, this is transformation. And so we've changed things in the past. We've changed medications for diabetes. We were just giving metformin at the PHCs, and now we can give insulin. But it hasn't changed the outcomes of a lot of the patients. We've changed doctors from PHC centers to OPD clinics in the hospitals. So you go to the OPD clinics now and you ask the doctors, how are your referrals coming for diabetes? And they say, well, 75% of them shouldn't be coming to the hospital. So that hasn't helped. We've changed leadership. We've changed everything from the ministry down to the leaders in the PHC centers. I'm not saying all change isn't good, because some changes are good. But overall, we have to look at the ultimate outcome. And when we see numbers like the lower limb amputations only getting worse, we know that we need more than just change. We changed dispensary designs, thinking that that will draw more people into the PHCs because it's a nicer building. We've changed clinical guidelines over time. We've given PHC doctors a little more ammunition to work with and taught them better guidelines for treating diabetes and other non-communicable diseases, but we're still having a problem. How many times have we changed programs? One of the frustrations that we have in the PHCs today is we have more than 50 programs coming down from the ministry that they have to deal with on a daily basis, sometimes up towards 800 KPIs. That's overwhelming for any organization to handle. We've changed them in hopes that we would do something good. And I'm not saying that these changes and these ideas aren't done in good faith, but the cohesion of them and the collaboration of the stakeholders is not present. The World Health Organization in 2016 reported that Saudi Arabia was second in the Middle East and seventh in the world for the rate of diabetes. It's estimated that 7 million people have diabetes or will have in the next few years, and almost 3 million diagnosed with prediabetes. Its complications are rising at a serious and alarming rate. The amputation rates, as I said earlier, is a good indication of the poor care of diabetic patients and the poor management and prevention of foot ulcers. The amputation rates are also a forecast of the magnitude of the problem, not just with diabetes, but with every aspect of the health care. What we need is transformation. Change is good in little doses, but we need transformation. How many people have this? Some people have all three of those, I think. In Saudi Arabia, I know I have 2 phones. I never had that before, but I do now. But this is a change over time. And over a short period of time, they almost look the same, don't they? If you have a 10, you know how to work it. Because you had a 7, it's almost the same, and it looks almost the same. It costs more, right? This is transformation. None of us know how to use this machine on the left. I mean, who would know how to use that? But this is transformation. This is what we have to envision in our minds. How many rode in one of these buses? Transformation or change? Mecca, 100 years ago. Transformation. Doesn't look the same. Our primary health care centers, our clusters, the way we deliver medicine today to the population cannot look the same as it does today. So what does transformation of the healthcare system look like in the clusters? Well, today, and Dr. Khalid mentioned quite a bit of it in his speech, in his talk. Some of the speakers earlier today did. Emmeline mentioned some of these points we're going to touch on. It looks the same on a national level as it does all the way down to the cluster level, from where the patient walks in the door. Information systems. Okay, we're in a country that utilizes information systems on their smartphones probably more than most countries in the world, but we don't have a cohesive information system for hospitals and PHCs today yet. Thank God we're working on it. Inshallah, it will come soon, but it's necessary. Today in PHCs, most of them are still using paper. This is how I learned how to do medicine. And when they gave me my first computer 20 years ago, I said, I think I picked the wrong career here. I have to do a computer now? But we didn't have a choice. We did it. And that's what's happening today in the kingdom. It needs to happen so that we can have all the data that we need to make our medical delivery better. And then eventually, of course, artificial intelligence will come into play. But we can't ignore this, and we can't think that we're going to have transformation without this happening. Leadership, organization, and strategy transformation. Everywhere from the Ministry of Health, changing things to being run by sectors or what we call clusters. This is not Saudi Arabia, of course, another country that has clusters. And then eventually, as Emmeline mentioned, we'll turn into an ACO. This is transformation. Patient satisfaction. How many people here have relatives or family or friends that go to PHC centers? Are they always happy with what they find there? One of my colleagues in Qasim, he's in the administration of the C-suite for the cluster. His mother goes to diabetes. She's had diabetes for 20 years, and he's asked her more than once, tell me about your disease. What do you have? You have diabetes. Explain what that means. And she still, after 20 years, can't explain it. So there's a problem that somebody hasn't told her enough or answered her questions effectively. So what has happened over the years, and this is not just in Saudi Arabia, this has happened around the world. There's no trust anymore for the PHCs, for the little clinics that have to survive. There's no trust. Just listen, I don't even want to talk to you today, doctor. Just write a referral for me. You don't have to know what's wrong, just write a referral. This is what happens on a daily basis. And we don't want that to happen. The patients really would rather stay in the community than go to the hospital. So we want to change and transform this mistrust into trusting and caring, and the patients being happy to stay in their community. Healthcare services and capabilities. Let's transform them from hospital-based into community-based population health initiatives. We all know the big hospitals are where really important things happen, and there's great tools and technology is the best. But can't some of that be done in the PHC centers today? Can't some of it be done in the community? Of course it can. And that's the mindset that we have to start having, is bringing the care to the patient, not the patient running all over to get care. Healthcare delivery, as Dr. Khalid mentioned, has been in silos for many years, not just in Saudi, but all over the world. I remember as I was a medical student, you'd go into the hospital, and the surgeons would all be eating at this lunch table here, because surgeons were surgeons, and they didn't want to talk to anybody else. And all the internal medicine doctors would be over here, and they didn't want to talk to the surgeons. And there was a lot of siloing of care 25 years ago, because specialties were the latest thing. But I'm here to tell you, family medicine is a specialty too. And we are just as important in delivering care as all the other specialties. We did most of our training in the hospitals, side by side with these other specialties. Why should it change now just because we're in a PHC center? So the delivery of health care has to be transformed from silos to integrated care. There's different models for integration of care. Integration of care between primary, secondary, and tertiary facilities can show up in many different ways. We can have caregiver change their location. Do all the caregivers, or 95% of them, have to be in hospitals? There's no rule that says they do. A lot of caregivers that work in hospitals don't want to leave the hospital. It's kind of nice, it's fancy, it's big, it's kind of prestigious, but they could do their work anywhere. Location of services can change. Who says that CT scans only can be done in a hospital? Let's think out of the box, and how can we have a CT scanner in a community? Communication and referral channels. The integration of care happens on the internet and through a good HIS system. Medical administration has to cross over to the other side of the aisle to work not only within the PHC centers in the community, but with community-centered private organizations with larger facilities. And patient and community-centric care is one way to bridge the distance between primary, secondary, and tertiary care. This is one concept. There's many out there. Look at the PHC Center as kind of the mothership of this big spaceship. The PHC Center could have attached to it an urgent care center, for example. It could have attached to it a rehab center for physical therapy, for post-MI activities. It can have secondary care integration with different specialties. And they could all utilize the same resources within that primary health care center. This is a mega center, basically. Around the world, integration of care is happening. We've been visiting, your country leaders have been visiting different countries to see how it's being done. We're not going to just follow what everybody else is doing. We're going to do it the Saudi way, which I love, because we can have something that's ours, and the world is watching us to see how we do it. In the Netherlands, right now, they're integrating cardiology into the primary healthcare system. We did this, I think Ali was involved to a degree. We did this in E1 cluster, where general cardiologists are now outside the hospital, working in the community, doing activities that they don't need to be in the hospital for. They're not interventionalists. They do treadmill stress tests, they do echoes, they do EKGs, they do 24-hour Holters. That can be done in a primary care setting. So this is something that will have their grand opening, I think, in the next month or so. But it started off in the Netherlands and a few other countries. It's been very successful, and the patients are very happy. Saudi Arabia, integrating healthcare through the model of care that Dr. Khalid describes so very well. Hong Kong is integrating care with their elderly population. Hong Kong has one of the largest elderly populations in the world per capita. And they are attaching elderly care centers to their community primary health care centers to keep an eye on those elderly patients that have many comorbidities and can easily fall through the cracks because it's difficult sometimes to get to a doctor. Oman, how did they integrate their care? I was just there 2 weeks ago for their first family medicine conference. And I asked their director of primary health care from the ministry, what made a difference in Oman with your primary health care? And he said the main thing that made a difference was integrating the HIS system. The communication between specialists and primary care physicians changed almost overnight. That's one way that integrating care is happening in Oman. Bosnia recently decided we need to do something about non-communicable diseases. What are we going to do? How are we going to integrate care to make sure we have better outcomes? Not only did they integrate care at the clinical level, but they integrated care by talking to the ministries across the country. The Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Transportation, the Ministry of Finance. what are your principles and what are your initiatives that you can put in place that can help the health care and the health of the population in Bosnia? So integration occurs on many different levels, which we've heard today. From the Introduction to Health Sector Transformation Strategy that was published by the Ministry of Health and the VRO, we have a declaration as follows. Good health is a gift. Its promotion is amongst the greatest responsibility of any state, country. We take that seriously, and we are now embarking on a fundamental transformation of our health system. This declaration also says our country needs it. We know that. We've seen the statistics today. Our people deserve it. Our families, our children, our grandchildren. And every one of us here, whether we're clinicians, medical administrators, we all have an equal role to play. We aren't going to stand back and just watch somebody else do it. Every day we have a role to play to make these changes, to become transformations. And I just want to leave you with thinking about transformation and what your role may be in that. Thank you.
نشكر الدكتور أنطوني على هذه المحاضرة القيمة بلا شك. الآن المجال مفتوح لطرح 3 أسئلة وبشكل مختصر. بداخل أي سؤال؟
السلام عليكم.
تفضل.
السلام عليكم. لاحظنا من كلام الدكتور خالد وكلام الاستشاريين قبله كل المشكلة عندنا في البيانات، جمع البيانات، ومن ضمنها ذكر التغذية الراجعة من مستشفى المراكز الصحية. أتوقع أن الملف الإلكتروني الموحد الصحي هو الحل، لابد أن يبدأ به، ولا ندري بالتحول بالرؤية وين وصل الملف الوضع فيه. كذلك يمنع الهدر الصحي وكثرة المراجعات.
طبعا شكرا. السؤال هذا طبعا محوري. حتى يكون عندنا تحول حقيقي لابد أن نجمع بيانات، لابد أن نعرف إحنا وين وبأي اتجاه نسير. الملف الصحي الإلكتروني بيجمع بيانات، لكن البيانات اللي احنا نحتاجها ليست فقط فيما يتعلق ببيانات المريض فقط، بيانات النظام ككل. الأخوان في الوزارة لديهم استراتيجية وطنية للملف الإلكتروني وللتحول الرقمي في الخدمات الصحية. طبعا يمكن أغلب الممارسين سمعوا عن برنامج في الرعاية الأولية اسمه علم، وهذا قاعد يعني ينتشر في المراكز تقريبا. أعتقد أنه يعني تجاوز 800 مركز على مستوى المملكة. بالنسبة للمستشفيات طبعا فيه أيضا مسار موازي فيما يتعلق بتحديث الأنظمة الصحية في المستشفيات. احنا ما نقول لازم نشوفه بكرة، احنا لابد ان نمشي في خطوات بالاتجاه الصحيح. اكتمالها يعني اتوقع انه على حسب الخطة يعني بحلول 2021 او في نهاية 2021 ستكون جميع المراكز الصحية والمستشفيات مغطاة بأنظمة صحية والملف الصحي على أرض الواقع. لكنها مهمة جدا، بدون بيانات يعني لا نفكر في تحول.
الجزء الثاني من سؤالك
عن الهدر الصحي، عدد المراجعات كلها، يعني احنا طلعنا مرحلة تحول فتحل أمور كثيرة وجود ملف الصحة الإلكتروني الموحد على مستوى القطاعات جميعا، مو بس وزارة الصحة، القطاع العسكري، القطاع الخاص، القطاع يكون نفس منصة أبشر لوزارة الداخلية.
شكرا لك.
طبعا يمكن هذه من الأشياء المتغيرات في مسارات أخرى. فكرة النموذج أنه يربط رحلة المريض، وأيضا يأخذ البيانات المهمة في هذه الرحلة بحيث يكون فيه تواصل مستمر مع كافة مزودي الخدمة الصحية بغض النظر عن موقعهم الجغرافي أو حتى مستواهم من الرعاية. الضابط لهذا إذا عرفنا رحلة المريض عرفنا إيش الإجراءات اللي تمها، الزيارات اللي تمها، وبالتالي سنقلل الكثير من الهدر الحاصل في المنظومة الصحية.
شكرا لك دكتور. سؤال ثاني، تفضل دكتور.
شكرا دكتور علي. Well, thank you very much for this nice presentation. Thank you, Anthony, for this presentation. My name is Wadi. I'm the chairman of Health Administration Department in King Saud University. I would like to ask Anthony just one simple question about transformation and change in the healthcare system in Saudi Arabia. How would you perceive transformation system and versus the change? Which one is more productive? Are we going through the change system, or we are aligned to the transformation system? Based on your experience, based on what you have seen in Al Qasim or Riyadh areas. Thank you.
Well, are you asking the transformation of the HIS and the electronic medical record versus e-change? Well, to me, there are two different ideas. E-change is kind of something that is a overall concept for the cluster or for the kingdom, whereas it affects every part of medicine in terms of finance, buildings, all the things that administrators do, as well as what clinicians do. But I think the transformation of the HIS system and the electronic medical record touches more on a down to the rubber meets the road level, if you understand what I mean. Where I'm saying that today, when you look at and you go into a PHC center, or you go into an OPD clinic, and you see what is transcribed on a medical record, sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's a blood pressure and that's it. So we're not just transforming it by putting a new system in place. We're transforming the mindset of the caregivers as well as the patients to provide good information, document good information. Make doctors and nurses accountable for what they write in a computer medical record. Right now, there is no accountability. And I've gone into a PHC center where a doctor saw 60 patients one day. I asked him to show me the records, and he had little pieces of paper on maybe 6 patients, and that was it. So the transformation of a HIS system and an electronic medical record is not just these machines, but it's the mindset of the people using it. I hope that answers your question.